Okay, back here in the garage, 68 Le Mans convertible is done and back to its happy home. This project is a 69 Chevrolet C-10 pickup. It's a local truck. It was started 2 years ago in October, I believe. They did their own frame and chassis and engine and all that stuff, of which I don't do. I only handle paint and body. So finally it made it back here a few weeks back, and all I was left to do is fit the doors and get those lined up and finish blocking. And so anyway, we're walking around the truck here. We're getting ready to paint this thing. Probably painting this thing starting possibly tomorrow or Christmas Eve, may even paint it on Christmas Day. A lot of people say, well, why would you do that? Well, here in the South Carolina, with the cold we're having, you have to take advantage of when it's going to be sunny and at least in the 50s, so it gets to be in the 60s inside this garage. I got some plastic hanging now that I did not have on any previous jobs. Body's been sanded to a 600 grit. A Nason 2K urethane primer has been used on the entire car. I'll show you the primer here. Of course, I used a gallon kit, but I bought this to finish it up. 2K 42119. They sell it in a gallon kit at Finish Master. It's about I think about 140 bucks. I did every car I've ever owned myself and customers with this stuff. I've had no issues with it whatsoever. A lot of people might use a lot more expensive primer. I don't. This to me is as good as it gets. You're going to sand it. You want a urethane primer. Under no circumstance do you ever use a lacquer primer on anything. I don't care if you use it on a go-kart. Don't do it. It will rust eventually and it will crack. You want a urethane primer. So anyway, that's that. The bed will be painted at a later date once this is painted, and that way we don't have any paint lines in here anywhere. It should be a pretty nice truck. This is a 69 C10. Most of these had a line that went across here. As you can see, I've done away with that, and it's basically, you know, all smooth there. So I think that gives the truck a cleaner look. Another thing they've done on this truck that I did for them, since they're putting a fuel tank here, is we had to do away with this hole here. So they actually sell a piece to do that with. So I welded it in, and you know, it's gone. So the door jambs have been painted. Under the hood's been painted. You know, all the edges. Inside the cab, so we had to do a 4 or 5 hour masking job to make sure we don't get overspray on anything. But for those of you who may be doing some paint work, whether you do it for, you know, a hobby or do it for a semi-living like I do, you know, you don't want to go work for the man at the plant. That was my decision in doing this. Just make sure you're using good materials underneath your paint. This is where the money is spent. The money is not spent on painting. It'll take 4 hours to paint this truck, if that. It's taken 200 plus to do all the rest. This truck had a lot of rust in the cab. If you're buying one of these trucks, you definitely want to pay attention to this area here. They are awful to rust all up in here. There's a lot of double-walled metal, and fertilizer and that kind of thing will get in there and rust it out. So this is a 69, so it has the emblem on the hood, which will be going back. I've got this hood propped up. I'm going to get it some more paint. As you can see, that's a little light there on the jam job. When that was done, so I'm gonna get a little more paint on the edges, and we'll go from there. I've got a few little places marked. It's a good idea to go around and mark your areas. If there's a little place you need to put some glazing putty before you paint, or like any places that's bare metal or filler needs to be covered with primer, because filler is hygroscopic. Paint will not cover it very well, and bare metal is not really suited for paint. It needs to have something on it. For quick coverage before paint, I like to use this stuff here. I get it at Finish Master. It's called, it's made by Transtar. It's about 20 bucks a can. It's a direct to metal filler primer. But if you put it on real light, it does a good job covering up these metal spots and these filler spots. And if you do it, you know, basically right before you paint, there's no reason to have to sand. A lot of times I do let it dry and hit it with a Scotch-Brite or some 600 just to be safe, but I've painted directly over it just and it covers pretty well. But anyway, this is a 69 Chevrolet C-10, and we're going to be painting it 2008 Dodge Blaze Red Crystal Pearl Metallic, also known as Inferno Red Crystal. Same color on one of my cars and some of my other videos. I'll be doing a few more instructional videos, if you want to call it that, on this truck as I paint it, and then go through the cut and buffing process. You'll get to see that as well. Okay, Merry Christmas, everybody.